Okay, so what I've got is a block that I've got a block that's embedded in resin. It's all poured, and it came out of the mold a while ago, and it's nice and hard. Okay, it's not sticky at all. And it came out nicely. The sides on my blocks are coming out real nicely. The bottom comes out real nicely, nice shiny thing. So I don't need to treat those at all. I don't need to sand those at all. But what I do need to do is sand the top. The top edge. This edge is very sharp. The corners, the top are pretty sharp. That one's sharp, especially. It kind of, when it comes out of the mold, when it's in the mold, it kind of curls up the sides a little bit and creates this edge. And it'd be nice to smooth out the top too, just nice and smooth, so it's nice and even. Because the sides are nice and smooth, I'm going to try to just sand the top portion and avoid sanding the sides. Now, alright, so the block there, and what happens is I go through, there's a bunch of gradations of sandpaper. Start out with 120, and then all the way up we do 220, 320, blah blah blah, 1000, 2500, and the last one is 3000. Okay, so I'm gonna just do that. Okay, now this is wet sandpaper. The sandpaper is meant to be wet, so what I need to do is just keep dipping the top in the water. And what I've got, I'm working in the basement, so there's not a faucet down here. So what I've got is a little tray of water, a little plastic container, and I've got a jug here, a gallon jug of water that's just kind of meant to play. Now, so I'll pour just enough in there. Alright, just like that, something. I don't need that much, just to kind of keep it wet. Now, what happens is this water gets really dirty as I go through, especially on the first batch of sanding. So I need to keep that water clean. So I'm gonna just as I go, I'll fill it up, and then with water, and then I've just got a bucket over here that I'm just gonna kind of dump the water into as we go. Trying to keep that water clean, because what happens is if the water's not clean, then little specks of resin, hardened resin, gets on the side here, and it kind of messes it up. I mean, it's not too bad, but it means that then I would need to sand the sides, and you know, I don't think I'm gonna get as good a finish as what's already there from the sanding and whatnot. So you know, not a big deal if you end up getting the sides kind of dirty, but you know, so we'll just go for it. Now this alright, the first layer takes a while to sand. Right, I use one sand. I start with 120, so there's a lot of material here that needs to come off the top. And then also the you know, I'll just sand and sand and sand until it's, you know, I just sort of check it's really the edges in this case. It kind of depends on how bumpy it is, on how much sanding I need to do with the 120. Right, I'm on the 120 sandpaper right now. Now after the 120, the 220 still takes a little while, but then after that it just goes very, very quickly. You don't need to do, I find that I don't need to do all that much sanding when I get to the finer grains of sandpaper. And I'm wearing gloves just to keep my fingerprints off the thing. That I don't know that it matters too much. So we'll see. Alright, so I'm gonna get that smooth as I can along the top. The other variation of block that I've made is an ornament style. So it's a lot harder to sand the top on the ornament style because the hook is kind of in the way. So that's good. I got some black specks in my water here, and I'm just going to dump this water because those black steps, they come from the sandpaper here. I noticed that they'll sometimes get embedded, and it get embedded in the plastic, so I'm going to kind of keep it clean, and hopefully I won't get, sometimes I have to pick those out with my fingernail, and kind of a pain, but it all comes out in the end. But it's a little easier if you don't have to end up doing that. Kind of keep that wet. If you do this dry, then it gets all gummy up in the sandpaper, and it just doesn't work very well. So this sandpaper is intended to be done wet. I'm thinking that you know, it'd be kind of nice if I had a grinder and, you know, an attachment to a grinder, a sander. You know, I'm thinking this first layer might be reasonable to do with a machine. It takes a little while. My sandpaper's getting a little old too. This 120, you might want to get extra if you're doing a bunch of these. Get extra of the 120 because I go through that a lot more than the others. The others done a bunch of blocks and I really reuse them, but the 120 I use a lot because of this. There's a lot of sanding on this first layer. You can see that this piece of sandpaper is well used. It's a little bit easier with the new sheet, but yeah, and I'm getting more specks, more black specks in that water than maybe with a new sheet of sandpaper. Just kind of check the reflection, see how this is sanding out. Nothing real special about sanding it around. Just around in circles. Get rid of that black junk before I get it. That, yeah. I suppose an even better solution would be to do this at the sink, or I can just run it under the faucet a bit, but I don't have that luxury here in the basement. I'm getting there pretty close. It's not bad. It takes longer than the other layers, that's all. Alright, that looks pretty good, I guess. Kind of clean that and try to get see some black stuff on the side there, but that's pretty good. Again, I'm cleaning the water for two reasons. I'm using fresh water as I go for two reasons. One reason is because I get the pieces of of resin get in there and kind of mess up, but also the black thing. Alright, so anyway, I'll go on to 220 now. Alright, a little bit finer, and it'll go, the process goes a little bit quicker now. Okay. And even on 220 I spend a little bit more time than the finer gradations. But after doing that first layer, I can kind of go through a bunch of blocks quickly. Alright, should be good. And then pour that a little bit there. And I don't know if you can tell, but the liquid is a little bit milky. Not bad because I've been changing the water, but what I discovered was it got, if I didn't change the water, if I just went through all the sanding with one batch of water, it got really milky and filled with junk. 320. And all that junk made its way to the sides and messed them up, you know. I had to go sand the sides, which is a fairly quick process, but I didn't get the sides as clean as I would as they come out. The mold, they came out nice and clean from the mold. So kind of get the edges too. Yeah, so that's all I need with that. And then I kind of pour water over the top of the stuff that's there. In my hands. Alright. I think the... Alright, so at this one, 400. Okay. Alright, see, like I say, it goes pretty quickly after this first. There you go. Get rid of any of the crud that might have gone. And washing the sides as I go. Alright, 600. Alright, you can feel that just gets nice and it feels like soft. It's getting softer and softer every time I get a new batch of sandpaper. Alright, now at this point, after, this is 800 I'm doing now. Alright, after say 800 or so, the fine sandpaper, I'm not really creating many particles, so shouldn't have to change my water that often, but it's just getting softer and softer as I go. Get the edges a little bit. And good enough. Okay. Alright. Just kind of keeping the sides clean mainly. Alright, there's 800, so $1,000. Okay. Alright, that's all I really need to do there. Alright, so just kind of wash it off, keep it wet. $1,200. Just a dozen, maybe a couple dozen circles around, and that's all you really need to do on these finer layers. Really, at this point, so 2,000. Coming out nice and smooth. Okay. Alright, and I got, oh, alright, well, don't really need to do all of these. Usually I go 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000. I've already done the 2,000, so, 2,500. Yeah, I mean, you probably don't need to do as many gradations I do. This is the kit that came, so I just use them all typically. Finer and finer and finer. So looking real nice. Okay, and then last one. All right, last one. 3,000. There we go. Nice and smooth. Alright. Looking pretty good, I'd say. Kind of, alright. Kind of a rounded edge along the top. Looks like nice and smooth on the sides. Just kind of dump that and kind of make sure that this is all good. Yep, look good. So now I'm going to dry this off. Now what happens is the sanding creates kind of a matte finish, all right, as opposed to, oh yeah, it's a little bit dirty on the sides there, but so because of the matte finish, I'm going to need to spray it. So all right, I use the same clear acrylic spray just for a gloss coating. But I got to do that under the hood. This stuff really stinks, and it's probably not good for your health. So I'll just put this under the hood and spray it, and looks like we're done. Okay, so I've sanded this block, and I sanded the top. Didn't have to sand the sides. All right, and so it comes out kind of I need to. It comes out as a kind of a matte finish. I'd like to do a gloss finish on this. So what I need to do is just spray. I'm going to spray this block under my hood here with the clear acrylic. All right. Shake it up. All right. Pretty much it. Okay, so it's been sitting here for about half an hour. Drying. Take a look at it, and yeah, looks real nice. Sometimes I do a second coat, but I don't think I need to on this one. The sides are a little bit dirty, so I think we got a little bit matte finish on that. So I think maybe I'll spray the acrylic on the sides too, but the main part right here is I sanded the top, didn't sand the sides. The sides are not bumpy, although they're a little bit just a little bit dirty. So could probably use a coat of acrylic on the sides now, but so I'll just do that, and then we'll be done. Just a light coating.